Welcome to the Link Building Show, episode 11. I've got Emily Beater on the show, who is an expert in everything PR, and she's expert especially in making sure that the links are coming in consistently every week to our clients' websites. Therefore, with Emily, we are going to talk about how to keep consistency with digital PR and how to keep the links just flowing in all the time. Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. We know you are really able to keep consistency with backlinks, and we just want to find out how do you do it and how does one who is struggling, which I think is like many PRs out there are struggling to get consistent links. So how can they do it? How can they get consistent links to their clients' websites? And by the way, it's also independent of the niche, right? Almost like you can get links in almost any niche. So tell us, how can people get consistency with links?
Well, yeah, I would start off with saying that at the beginning, it is normal to not land consistent links. And I actually have an experience where I started off struggling to land links and spiraling into kind of quite an anxious place. So I would encourage anyone who's struggling. It's not an instantaneous thing. Like, I'm still learning so much. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Slowly get to know your clients' niches and what the media is talking about. So I started off when I wasn't landing the links, which was maybe like the first month of my digital PR journey. I did a lot of reading around my clients' niches. So, like, for example, we have a boiler client who sells boilers. So I'd research a lot on energy prices, and you slowly get to see what the media is talking about in that niche. And it gets to the point, I'm like 7 months in, where you kind of just anticipate what those journalists are going to be writing about, and you're just feeding them the stories that they want. And yeah, that's a really good place to be in. Yeah, so I came into this with like no data knowledge, and I was very insecure at the start. And I learned that data is the core of everything in digital PR, because you're kind of giving the journalist something that they don't really have. I mean, not every journalist has or knows how to kind of access the Office of National Statistics or other kind of data online to get them sort of the stories they want to talk about. So for instance, everyone's talking about rising energy prices, but journalists wouldn't necessarily know that on the ONS or other data sources, there is literally energy prices in every single local authority just broken down for you to just take. So yeah, it's really great to be able to feed them those stories and get them those links. So yeah, practically I've got like, now I'm like 6 or 7 months in, I've got like just a bank of data sources that I go to with each story or with each client. And I've learned to kind of like mix and match different data sources. So I have like, I don't know, a list of the happiest places in the UK. So that's very easy if you want to do something on like mental health client.
Become an expert of the niche, right? Not almost an expert, like really deeply understand the niche. I think that's step one. And step two, become an expert in the data that can support stories in that niche.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say that I wouldn't like,
not like expert, but become very knowledgeable.
Yeah, like just because I remember feeling really immobilized by thinking I had to be an expert straight away. And like, you can be anyone. Like, I barely passed my maths GCSE. You know, I had to have extra help. Like, if you're scared of data, I totally know where you are, and you know, you're feeling overwhelmed. But honestly, it's so simple once you get into it, and you could just get someone who's good at Excel to explain a few things.
I think there's just a tipping point, isn't it? Where when you don't get anything, you just find it impossible to figure it out. And then once you just tip over, it just like it becomes like a habit, it's so easy, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, not getting links at the beginning is not a sign of your ability in any way. And really, like, the only way to get the links is just to do it, like just to do it scared and keep on pushing. And, you know, you learn as you do, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, I knew nothing when I started. The only way that I managed to make it work consistently was just by learning as I went along. And the more like small wins I had, the more I started to trust myself that I could do this.
Yeah, I think the small wins are important because they just give you, you know, the fuel that's needed to keep your motivation. Because that's another thing I want to ask you, like, just to make sure that other people understand, like, did you feel, especially at the beginning, like sad, or like, you know, did you feel overwhelmed by the fact that you were not getting links? And how did you get past through that, you know, because you have to keep on pushing until you actually get it. So how did you get past that period when you were getting no links, but you were still going. So tell us a bit about that stage of your kind of almost career in the digital PR.
Yeah, so I came over from content writing. What attracted me to digital PR was the creativity of it and the fact that you were kind of creating really like exciting stories for journalists. I mean, it's an amazing thing to do, but I think what scared me at first was it's kind of, I guess, like how well, or like the results are very obvious, a campaign either lands links or it doesn't. But I kind of told myself that to kind of cope with it at the start and, enjoy the process rather than panicking about the results, I was going to make it like into a game for myself. I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself and I tend to define myself a lot by results. So I just told myself, let's make this a game. It's not how much praise you get for an idea, it's not how many amazing results you get, it's just how many times you try. And I kind of like had to reorient it in my brain because with digital PR, like with content, at least when you write a piece of content, you kind of, it's sort of like job done, and you usually get some good feedback on it. But a campaign you might think is an amazing idea, but it just doesn't land, and how do you stop yourself feeling disheartened by it? So I just had to keep telling myself that it was me trying, that me being brave, and it was really scary, I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
I struggled a bit at the start, but yeah, I just had to keep telling myself that it was how brave I was that was what mattered. It didn't matter if it didn't land, it was that I tried and I had done the big scary thing. Yeah.
And you kept on pushing. So as you were,
I did. Yeah, I kept on. I kind of got to the point where I decided that no matter what, I was not going to give up. And there were many weeks without any links, and I kept second guessing myself, and I was like, oh, I'm just not good. None of my ideas are working. But I just got a bit sort of like feisty with myself, and almost like with the journalists that I felt weren't covering my piece. And I was like, you know what? Like, no matter what, I'm going to at least land one link. Yeah.
I think this is very important for other people, other digital PRs to understand, because everyone at the beginning will not get links. Like, it's normal. And everyone, I think, will feel, probably, I know it's bad to say, they will probably feel like useless. They will feel like they're not good enough. They're not, and maybe even depressed. And I think everyone feels like this when they launch something and they don't land links at the beginning. But it's very, like, you are proof that if they just keep on pushing and keep on like really investing, mental energy and just really want to become good at it, then they can achieve consistency. Once they tip over that little kind of line, I think it's really important to if you really want to do this, then just keep on going and of course give your best. It's not like you just keep on going, but like doing the same, like not doing enough activities, but just keep on going and then just going all in. I think that's probably what I can see with you as well, Emily. Like, you just kept on going, but you just launch. And I think this is the recipe for success.
Yeah, and I think often, like, it takes time for journalists to pick. Like, I've had things that I thought, this is really good, and they haven't picked it up, and I felt quite downcast. But if you kind of believe in the idea, you should keep pushing it, because eventually they will pick it up. Like, they're battling kind of like, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of emails a day. I think it's a crazy amount. Like, I don't even know, like probably like they get 100 an hour or something.
Yeah.
It's probably just that they haven't seen it. Like, if you've done the work, it's relevant to their niche, and you've seen that they've covered similar things, it's very likely that they will cover it.
Awesome.
And another thing is that I learned was that, interesting, like coming from being a writer where, originality is everything, with digital PR, actually trying to be too original is not your friend. Like it's a beautiful creative process, but you have to look at what's been done before and what's been successful.
Indeed.
This will be your tool to success. Looking at other digital PR campaigns, what was their methodology? Like, there are so many amazing agencies out there that share so much information on the campaigns,
including us, right?
Us, yeah, exactly. And it's a fantastic way just to see how a successful digital PR campaign kind of works, from sort of the idea to the execution. And you can see how they've used, I mean, I'm not talking about ripping off campaigns at all, but it's just that you'll get to realize that the journalists in different niches that the journalists journalists who cover sort of things similar to your clients' niches, they will write about the same thing again and again and again, just in different ways. So, you know, like cleaning, sort of home, I don't know, lifestyle journalists, always covering the royal family. They're always covering cleaning tips. They're covering sort of money saving tricks and like household maintenance. So, you know, it's just, you will get to see that they will cover the same sort of thing. And then you kind of manipulate your data to that each time. And yeah, like looking at what other successful campaigns have been like, I think can be really useful, because you just see that it's not that hard. You know, they've taken 2 bits of data, like let's say you wanted to do, I don't know, like the cheapest place to be happy in the UK, you would just take data on wages in every area and then like happiness ratings and kind of like compare wage with happiness. Like it's
you can combine multiple data sets to make unlimited stories, right?
Yeah, and all you really need to do is find the lowest wage and the highest happiness rating and just mash it together. I mean, it might, I don't know, like, though I feel like maybe I would be thrown by that if it was my first time, but like you do get to know data and how simple it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice one.
Lining things up on a spreadsheet, right?
Exactly. Nice one. Well, thank you very much, Emily, for the very useful. I think everyone watching this will have an extra, you know, empowerment and hopefully an extra push to just keep on going. Don't give up when it's hard. So the main takeaways from this before like closing the video is study your niche, study your client's niche, then study the journalists who are writing about this, then become a data expert, not even an expert, very knowledgeable in the data that can support the stories for the journalists, and then just keep on launching lots of campaigns and just don't give up, right? Just keep on going.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Emily. It was a pleasure to having you here, and hopefully we'll have lots more knowledge shared. Thank you for watching episode 11, and I hope you'll have a great day, great evening, or like a great life.